right in the middle yatra that's currently on right now between the Congress party that's leading from the Mekedatu to Bengaluru in Karnataka. Not only has the party defied COVID curfews imposed in the state, but no COVID norms are being followed on this Padyatra. No masks, no social distancing, and heavy crowding. 30 Congress leaders, including State Chief DK Shivakumar, have been booked.
Thousands of protesters on the streets of Karnataka, marching for the second straight day in brazen violation of the COVID norms in place. The Karnataka Congress held this massive protest over the Mekedatu showdown, and leading the stir was the state party chief DK Shivakumar. A maskless DKS even endangering lives of children by roping them in for the Padyatra in pandemic. Unmindful of the third wave that's hit Karnataka and the rest of the country, unmindful that there's no social distancing or even masks. All this from the man who believed that the COVID crisis has been staged by the Bommai government.
No cases are there, they are just creating, they want the number, they are hiking the number. No COVID here. Simply they are hiking the number. Who are coming, they are just harassing people. They are collecting more than 3,000 rupees per visitor who is entering Karnataka.
It's no wonder then that when officials went knocking on DKS's door to get tested after participating in a potential super spreader event, he outrightly refused.
If I have any problem, I will tell you. Many fellows are blackmailing me. They can't blackmail me. Please go and tell your health minister, ಯಾರೋ ಪಚ್ಚಾಗಳ ಹತ್ರ ಆಟ ಆಡ್ಲಿ, ಏರ್ಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಇಂದ ಬಂದಂತ ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಇರೋ ಹತ್ರ ಓಡಾಡ್ಲಿ, ಏನ್ ಟೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದು, ಏನ್ ನಾನು ಟೆಸ್ಟ್, ಅವ್ನು ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಟೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಯು ಕಮ್ ವಿತ್ ರೆಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್. ಆರೋಗ್ಯ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಿಂದ ನನಗೆ ನೋಡ್ರಿ ಮಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಏನಾಗಿದ್ದೀರಾ ADC, ನನಗೆ ಫಿಟ್ ಫೈನ್ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತಾ? You can't compel me. I know the law of Islam. Tell your home minister, I'm perfect. ಅವ್ರಿಗೆಲ್ಲ ಹೆಲ್ತ್ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಹೋಮ್ ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟರ್ಗೋ ಹೆಲ್ತ್ ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟರ್ಗೋ ಚೀಫ್ ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟರ್ಗೋ. ನಾನು ಯಾವ ಟೆಸ್ಟ್ ಕೊಡೋದಿಲ್ಲ, ನನಗೆ ಅವಶ್ಯಕತೆ ಇಲ್ಲ. 15 ಕಿಲೋಮೀಟರ್ ನಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬಂದಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಈ ತೂಪಾಟ ಈ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾದ್ರು ಒಂಚೂರು ಜಗ್ಗಿದ್ದೀನಾ?
The Karnataka CM was quick to hit out at DK Shivakumar for what can all be called sheer carelessness by the state Congress chief.
ಇದರ ಮೇಲೆ ಕೇಸ್ ಹಾಕಿದೆ, ಪಾದಯಾತ್ರೆ ಮೇಲೂ ಕೇಸ್ ಹಾಕ್ತೇವೆ. ಯಾರು ಕಾನೂನು ಉಲ್ಲಂಘನೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರ ಖಂಡಿತವಾಗೂ ಕೇಸ್ ಹಾಕ್ತೇವೆ. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಮುಂದಿನ ಕ್ರಮ ಆಟೋಮೆಟಿಕ್ಲಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಒಂದ್ಸತಿ ಕೇಸ್ ರಿಜಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಆಗಬೇಕಲ್ಲ, ಏನಾದರೂ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ. ಕೇಸ್ ರಿಜಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಆದಮೇಲೆ, ಕೇಸ್ ರಿಜಿಸ್ಟ್ರೇಷನ್ ಆದಮೇಲೆ ಆ ಒಂದು ಸೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಅಡಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಕೆಲಸ ಆಗಬೇಕು ಅದು ಆಗ್ತದೆ, ಖಂಡಿತ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದೂ ಭೇದ ಭಾವ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಎಷ್ಟೇ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಲೀಡರ್ ಇರಲಿ, ಸಾಮಾನ್ಯ ಮನುಷ್ಯರಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದೇ ಭೇದ ಭಾವ.
Considering the clear violation of curfew orders in the state, the Bommai government decided to crack the whip on DK Shivakumar. But the senior Congress leader is defiant.
ಅದೇ ಮಾಡಬೇಡ ಅಂತ ನೋಟಿಸ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರೋದು ನಿಜ. ಆ ನೋಟಿಸು ಬಿಜೆಪಿ ನಮ್ಮ ನೋಟಿಸ್, ಕಾನೂನು ಬದ್ಧವಾದಂಥ ನೋಟಿಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲ. ಒಂದು ನೋಟಿಸ್ ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು ಸುಪ್ರೀಂ ಕೋರ್ಟ್ ಜಡ್ಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಇದೆ. 144 ಹಾಕ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ನಿನ್ನೆ ಯಾವುದೋ ಮಾಧ್ಯಮದವರು ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಪೇಪರ್ ಅವ್ರು ಬರೆದವ್ರೆ ನೋಡಿ. ಅದನ್ನು ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ರಾಜಕೀಯವಾಗಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಇದನ್ನು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ಸಲ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಈಗ ನಿನ್ನೆ ಫಸ್ಟ್
Politics has stooped to a new low in Karnataka where even a pandemic isn't spared from irresponsible acts. With DK Shivakumar making one reckless statement after another and even refusing to get tested, will the party high command intervene or let this Nataka amid COVID continue? After all, it was the Congress that took a moral high ground, and rightly so, on political rallies amid the pandemic. Bureau Report, India Today.
Now remember, DK Shivakumar has been making all the headlines by saying, what COVID? There is no COVID. This is BJP introduced COVID, and has gone on this particular Padyatra. But now things have escalated to another level because There is a big COVID scare now on this Padyatra after a Karnataka official spotted talking to DK Shivakumar just hours ago has now tested positive. Ramanagara's Assistant Deputy Commissioner, seen in this video, talking to DK Shivakumar, the Congress State President, has turned out to be infected with COVID-19. Shivakumar was heard on camera refusing a COVID test. This is after he has even denied the existence of the coronavirus. Shivakumar's brother has now used this entire development to allege a conspiracy on behalf of the Bommai government. He claims that the BJP government in Karnataka deliberately sent a COVID positive person to meet DK Shivakumar during his Padyatra in order to infect him and therefore teach him some kind of a political lesson. Incredible escalation in the politics over DK Shivakumar's Padyatra. And as if to prove that COVID violations by netas is no longer or never has been a partisan issue, after DK Shivakumar's violatory Padyatra, now it is the BJP's own MLA Renukacharya, the high-profile MLA Renukacharya, who's also broken COVID norms flagrantly in Karnataka and taken part in a procession in his constituency today. Take a look at these pictures that are coming in now, with Renukacharya, BJP MLA from Karnataka himself now taking part in a huge procession with massive crowds, total violation of COVID norms. And while the BJP has been attacking the Congress party and DK Shivakumar over his Padyatra, take a look at how the BJP's own Renukacharya is flexing muscle with this crowded procession in his own constituency in Karnataka. So therefore, this is proof, visual proof, ladies and gentlemen, that when it comes to COVID violations, no party can claim any primacy, certainly not in Karnataka, where both parties appear to be fully indulging in COVID violations in this political battlefield. Now, I just want to shift your focus back to where this all began. This is on the Mekedatu project on which DK Shivakumar of the Congress party has mounted this big belligerent Padyatra. He's denied the existence of COVID. He's called it BJP's pandemic, and he has refused to take a COVID test, and he's gone out. But what is this Mekedatu project on which this Padyatra is being taken out, on which there is this huge political hue and cry which is broken out in Karnataka? Here's all you need to know. The Mekedatu project is a 9,000 crore rupee proposal to build a reservoir over the Kaveri River. The proposal was drafted after a Supreme Court verdict on the Karnataka-Tamil Nadu water dispute said that the Karnataka government would have to release 177.25 thousand million cubic feet of water. The project aims to ensure adequate drinking water supply to the city of Bengaluru. However, the Tamil Nadu government has opposed the dam proposal, saying that the Mekedatu represents the last free point in Karnataka from where the Kaveri water flows unrestricted into Tamil Nadu. And therefore, if you add a dam there now, it will basically stop the only free point of flow of the Kaveri water into Tamil Nadu. Now, the focus of this entire Padyatra was supposed to be the Mekedatu dam issue, but it has simply escalated into a matter of COVID violations and political defiance. Joining me live, the two principal parties of Karnataka, the ruling party represented by S. Prakash of the BJP, the Congress by Brajesh Kalapa. Welcome to both of you. I hope the both of you and your families are well. Thank you for taking the time to be with me here on 5 Live. S. Prakash, I want to come to you first because a pretty grievous charge. I want to get this part out of the way. The additional deputy commissioner of Ramnagara has tested positive hours after meeting with Mr. Shivakumar. And the allegation from Team Shivakumar is that this is some kind of a conspiracy. He's been attacking the Bommai government. He's been saying there is no COVID, it's BJP's COVID. But now they are pointing a finger at you, saying that you have purposely sent someone there with COVID to infect him. It's a big charge, but I want to give you a chance to respond to that.
No, it's not a big charge. It's an irresponsible charge. He's an MP, and he should be more responsible while leveling such serious allegations. Just to justify their Padayatra, just to justify all the rules and regulations they are defying, they want to put the blame on the state government, which has no role to play in it. The deputy commissioner, additional deputy commissioner went to Mr. D.K. Shivakumar to advise him to take the COVID test, which he blatantly refused, and he spoke to him very roughly also. And he was very adamant. And subsequently, when probably he must have found he has tested positive and he is now home quarantined. For everything, COVID is there, 12,000 cases are being reported. They said there is no COVID in Karnataka, and it is the BJP COVID. Mr. Mallikarjun Kharge tweets, COVID numbers are increasing, vaccination is not taking place. Whom should the people believe? Is Mallikarjun Kharge is right or Mr. D.K. Shivakumar is right? Just to
Rajesh,
continue with this Padayatra, he should not indulge in such cheap politics. He should stop his Padayatra immediately in the best interest of the health situation of Karnataka and the Bangalore. They don't bring water to Bangalore. Certainly they will bring COVID to Bangalore in a much bigger way.
I'll come to the water issue in just a moment. Let's just discuss the COVID part. Brajesh, just one small point, then you can make your point. I'm just saying that I want all of our viewers and Brajesh and Mr. Prakash to know that we have just shown you visuals of Mr. BJP MLA Renukacharya's procession also. So I want all of our viewers to know that these violations cut across party lines. The ruling party's MLA is also indulging in these COVID violations. So I just want to make sure that the field is absolutely clear about where India today stands on this. It's about the principle of violations. But fair points are being made, Brajesh, by S. Prakash when he says that here is a leader who has denied the existence of COVID, who has refused to take a COVID test. His camp is making all sorts of irresponsible allegations saying you have sent a COVID positive guy, to infect him while he's on his Padayatra. He's looking like a loose cannon. This is dangerous at a time like this.
No, I don't. I don't subscribe to that view, Shiv. First is that insofar as Mr. Shivakumar and Mr. Siddaramaiah are concerned, the BJP government has filed FIRs against them. Has a similar FIR been filed against Mr. Renukacharya? No. The answer is blowing in the winds. I think it's very clear that as far as the BJP is concerned, they are totally rattled by the fact that a huge Padayatra is being undertaken, which demonstrates to the people of Karnataka that 25 MPs of the BJP have been totally useless, have lost the plot. They have not done a single thing to ensure that the Meghdadu project is cleared. This is the first part. Second is that this is probably the quickest case of transference of COVID, where he goes in the this ADC goes in the morning to meet Mr. Shivakumar, and by afternoon he's already been diagnosed with COVID. So this must be the fastest transference of COVID anywhere across the world. So I think, it's very simple to kind of paint everybody like this and say that one is behaving irresponsibly. If Mr. Shivakumar had any symptoms, he has already been diagnosed with COVID earlier. He has already had a COVID, full treatment. He knows what COVID is. It's like the government is now trying to kind of treat him like a baby and say that, look, you have to take a COVID test. Do we not know what the COVID symptoms are? Instead of that, government on its own, it comes across and says, no, please take a COVID test. And the gentleman who's coming to administer that test himself had COVID. So what do we now react, Shiv? Are we not to say that, this is certainly some kind of a government which is hatching a diabolical plot to infect our leaders with COVID?
Okay, so Brajesh, so it's not only D.K. Shivakumar's brother who has made the charge. Brajesh Kalapa also says there appears to be something diabolical at play here. You can answer that, S. Prakash, and also the fact the reasonable charge that the Congress is making, especially in view of violations by the BJP's leaders as well, that this is not about COVID violations as much as BJP being on the back foot because of the Mekedatu project. And that's why you're using COVID as a weapon to try and stop the Padayatra. Please respond, S. Prakash.
No. In a rapid test, within minutes, one can know whether he is a positive or negative. And the additional deputy commissioner must have taken the rapid test and found out he is COVID positive, negative. He cannot find fault with the additional commissioner just because he went and approached Mr. D.K. Shivakumar to take the test in his own interest. To ensure his health is good condition, and because he is moving with thousands of people right from morning to evening, let him not be infected with the COVID. A test would be a precautionary measure only to safeguard his health condition. But if the Congress finds fault with it, they can always requisition his own doctors, private hospital doctor, get the test every day. Then they can always go ahead with it. Why is he refusing to take the test itself? In what way the conspiracy is there? Then suggesting something good for you is conspiracy means, I don't understand. He's a responsible
Brajesh, to be fair,
he represents the party in the state. Should he not be more responsible and responsive?
Let's put the additional deputy commissioner issue aside for a moment, because I think we're going around in circles on that. You know, I am left to wonder whether any kind of investigation will prove what happened or whether there was something diabolical. But the separate issue, again, which is a reasonable one, Brajesh, is that it appears that the many things that Mr. Shivakumar is saying, the Padayatra is on a legitimate issue, he's going on a legitimate issue, but the many things he has said as far as COVID is concerned, and the complexion of the procession, which is clearly in violation of COVID norms at a time like this, flies in the face of your own party's stand on COVID, Brajesh. At least that should be conceded. It is a violation.
No, Shiv, different people have had different experiences, and different political leaders have had different experiences. You see, the Prime Minister never wears a mask. The Prime Minister of India, I have never seen him wear a mask in the last 7 to 8 months in public appearances. So different people
but multiple wrongs don't make a right. Which is the reason why we showed you Renukacharya's.
I'm not saying anything regarding the Prime Minister. I know certain people are touchy about the Prime Minister. I'm not saying anything about him. I'm saying that different people have different points of view, and that includes Mr. Shivakumar. He also feels that this COVID is a scam, and there are many people who subscribe to that point of view. You may think otherwise, but there is a huge section which feels that, you know, this whole thing is a scam, and it's, you know, being purposely pushed down people's throat. But
is it responsible to allow that thought to be perpetuated at a time when numbers are rising? Okay. That's my point. I don't think anybody is touchy about the Prime Minister. When he holds rallies, we call it out here. When Renukacharya holds a huge procession, we're calling it out here on India Today. We fear nobody, sir. We take no sides and we don't take no favors.
No, I'm not even alleging that you're taking sides. I'm not even alleging that you're taking sides, Shiv. My only point is this, that different people have different points of view. Even in regard to COVID, people have different points of view. And you can't hold it against a person that merely because he has a point of view.
But Brajesh, I know you to be a reasonable person. You know, people can have different points of view, but that's one of the reasons why we elect governments, to keep the peace, to try and keep some kind of COVID safety. Surely COVID norms is not an issue where we can be democratic about people's sentiments. This is about public safety at large. It's not about these individuals. Yes, S. Prakash.
No. Can I just answer that question?
Quick one. Yes, then I'll get S. Prakash.
There's a government order imposing COVID norms. Everyone should abide in the state. There is a weekend curfew in the state. Saturdays and Sundays, every business establishment was closed. Even petty shops were closed. Those poor people who earn their daily earnings had also abided the government decision. Is Mr. D.K. Shivakumar above above all the law of the state? Does he not comply with the government orders? Does it not be easy above the law? He all the COVID norms and other things he committed before starting the Padayatra. Why is he violating it? He is not wearing the mask right from yesterday. It is there well to see everyone. And Mr. Vijay Kadapa is too touchy about if he is booked for the violation of the COVID norms. That is a government rule. If DK Shivkumar or Renukacharya has violated the COVID norm, they will have to face the music. Even Renukacharya will be, certainly I am sure he will also be booked for the violation he has committed. What is wrong?
I'm glad you said that.
Law is equal for that. Is it different for the poor
Rajesh,
and the
this I have to...
or it is different for the politicians?
This I have to agree with. Rajesh, this even you have to agree with. I mean, you can't leave it to people out there in the crowds to have differing sentiments as far as COVID norms is concerned. That's a recipe for total chaos and anarchy, even in the name of politics, Rajesh. Come on. Last word to Rajesh.
Shiv, it's like this. I, for instance, am somebody who believes that there should be government regulation. But are you going to impose this government regulation on people who don't believe? There are people who are anti-vaxxers in the US. You know, this kind of, I think, freedom we all enjoy. So there are certain people who have a certain point of view. Mr. Shiv Kumar
No, that is not a freedom they can enjoy.
The Prime Minister has a point of view. No, we can't push our views down there.
Vaccination has not been made compulsory, but the following the COVID norms is compulsory, Mr. Brijesh Kadapa. You are a Supreme Court advocate. Don't you know the law?
No, I have a feeling, you know, that the politics of it has risen to such a level that certain indefensible things have to be defended. Brijesh, I know, is a reasonable man and a friend. I am just left wondering whether, you know, public sentiments can have any kind of privacy in a situation where it is not individual safety, but collective public safety in Karnataka that we are talking about. And I would like to wrap up this discussion just by reiterating once again that here on India Today, we will put the spotlight on whoever it is who makes those violations. Whether it is the government leadership at the center, whether it is the government leadership in Karnataka, whether it is the opposition, whoever it may be, we will put the spotlight on it because it is not about any individual. If 2 people are violating, 10 people around them become susceptible. So we all have each other's health in each other's hands. That's the point we're trying to make as we put the spotlight on these violations. Thank you very much, Brijesh and S. Prakash. Pleasure to have you both here with me on quick break. On the other side, after Prime Minister Modi's security breach in Punjab last week, badminton champion Saina Nehwal had put out a tweet saying that such things shouldn't be the subject of politics. It was a very general tweet in support of the Prime Minister's security. Now, actor Siddharth has attacked Saina Nehwal in some very derogatory words. He's tried to defend himself and offered a feeble sort of defense of the words he used, like subtle cock. But he's facing the music from all sides right now, with many quarters, including the National Commission for Women, wanting action against the actor for the filth that he rained on a badminton champion. Take a look.
On 6th January, the actor's tweet in response to badminton champion Saina Nehwal condemning the breach in Prime Minister's security in Punjab reeked of sexism and misogyny. The Olympic medalist and world badminton champion had tweeted condemning what had happened in Ferozpur on 5th of January. Siddharth's derogatory response to Saina's tweet has evoked strong reactions. Shiv Sena MP Priyanka Chaturvedi called out Siddharth for the use of what she called unbecoming language and illiberal approach. Singer Chinmay too called the actor's tweet crass as the BJP came out all guns blazing against Siddharth. A Delhi BJP neta even demanded the actor's arrest.
No, you can't take it as a cock and bull theory. This is no cock and bull theory. It's very clearly to what he said. And the way he has put it out, it's very, very sexiest comment. It's there for a very simple person also to understand that it's a very, very sexiest comment. You do not like one individual, but that does not mean that you can take your you can take your hate this far where you forget that you're insulting a woman, you're insulting womanhood.
As the online storm exploded, the National Commission for Women stepped in. its chief declared that she will be taking up Siddharth's offensive jibe at Saina Nehwal with the police. Rekha Sharma even asked for the actor's Twitter account to be suspended. Under fire, Siddharth clarified, tweeting, "Cock and bull, that's the reference. Reading otherwise is unfair and misleading. Nothing disrespectful was intended, said or insinuated." Bureau Report, India Today.
I want to go across to India Today. Is Pramod Madhav joining me live from Chennai, where actor Siddharth is based. We also have with us Mohit Sharma reporting from Delhi. Pramod, quickly coming to you first. Huge backlash to this very flippant, distasteful comment from actor Siddharth at Saina Nehwal. He's put out a very feeble clarification tweet saying that he meant cock and bull, but it's clear that the damage has been done. Any further word expected from Siddharth or his public relations team? What are you hearing, Pramod?
Well, they definitely have to react currently because just like you mentioned, the actual explanation provided by Siddharth seems to be not enough quite actually, because he's calling it as just a cock and bull analogy, something of like trying to say about made up story. But what is the made up part over here? Because his tweet very clearly is talking about her profession, and it as per the Rekha Sharma, the chairperson of NCW, it is actually misogynistic, and that's the reason there is a huge backlash. Now, after Rekha Sharma has issued a statement that she has also spoken to the Madhya Pradesh DGP and also to officials from Twitter seeking immediate action against actor Siddharth. So there is there is a need for him to come ahead and give an explanation. Whatever he has said on Twitter is definitely not adequate, and that's the reason several other people on social media itself are even though he's respected as an actor in Tamil cinema, not many are taking his side because it's very clear that his tweet is of a bad taste here.
Yeah, I'm wondering whether he's going to offer an unconditional apology and not the wishy-washy kind of, entitled nonsense that he's put out by way of a clarification. Mohit, the National Commission for Women has gotten involved. Usually in such situations, it becomes a kind of right versus left, right versus liberals kind of argument. But in this case, Siddharth has come under attack by people who admire him and his friends, and most of us admire him as an actor as well. But what he said was plain offensive and distasteful. The National Commission for Women appears to be pretty set on making an example of him. What kind of action are we foreseeing, Mohit?
Well, of course, you must try and understand that he is an acclaimed, he's a very well acclaimed actor, and not just that, he's a massive following on social media as well. And when somebody like actor Siddharth comes out and makes such derogatory remarks, it's an open invitation for his fans also to possibly copy him and make such derogatory remarks as well. Now, this is something which has gathered a lot of criticism for Siddharth as well, because it seems that he's not just criticized Saina, but at the same time, it's the derogatoriness of the entire statement that has raked up the controversy. Secondly, about the NCW, two things that the NCW has done. First and foremost, a notice has been sort of to the Maharashtra asking that an FIR be registered against him for sexually harassing a woman online. And secondly, under the Information Technology Act of 2000, clearly mentioning that how harassment of any kind online will not be tolerated. So of course the NCW wants to make an example out of him, and especially this comes on the background of how there have been severe actions, or rather several severe actions that have been taken against those who have been trying to use internet to either promote derogatory content against women, with something that we saw during the Sulli Reels and the Bully Bhai app case as well, and how the administration seems to have come down very heavily on them. And second, my point is that the NCW has also shot off a letter to Twitter India. It's the resident grievance officer whom the letter has been addressed to, clearly asking him to block his account with immediate effect and take all necessary actions. So clearly, it seems that the problems for actor Siddharth is only increasing right now, and hopefully we'll actually hear from him as to what exactly did he want to say, and perhaps was he actually lost in those words, or would he come out and really apologize this time around?
Hopefully better sense will prevail and he will come out with an unconditional apology and end this entire matter. Many people were quite surprised at the choice of words that Siddharth has been using recently. against people who don't agree with him or don't apparently agree with him politically. So things have really gone too far. He's definitely crossed a line now, and people who are, who he would count as his allies have now turned against him as well, and rightfully so. I mean, he should come out. He should be ashamed of himself, come out and make a full apology for his choice of words. Anybody can go wrong. You may have done it in the heat of the moment, but once you do it, at least come out and then apologize. Thanks, Mohit and Pramod. We'll keep a track of that story. Moving on. Well, now Mohit just mentioned it, and we have an update on the Bully Hate app case, the whole scandal that has exploded between states. People have been arrested from different states in the country. The masterminds have been nabbed as well. Well, the Bandra Metropolitan Magistrate Court in Mumbai has sent accused 18-year-old Shweta Singh, who was arrested from Uttarakhand, and Mayank Rawal to police custody till January the 14th. The Mumbai police has also got custody of Vishal Kumar, who's tested COVID positive. All youngsters, all between 18 and 21 years of age. Both 18-year-old Shweta and 21-year-old Mayank were detained from Uttarakhand last week, while Vishal is an engineering student. He was detained from Bengaluru. Yesterday, the Delhi Police Special Cell had arrested 25-year-old Omkeshwar Thakur from Indore and MP. He created the Sulli Deals app in July last year. During a preliminary interrogation, he admitted that the idea was to defame and troll and abuse prominent Muslim women.
Can you just give us a detail about the arrest that has been made in the Sulli Deal case, and how was this person tracked down?
During the investigation of the Bully case, we arrested Neeraj and Neeraj Bishnoi, and during his investigation and interrogation, along with the digital forensic examination of his gadgets, we found that he was even active in the month of July when the so-called Sulli Deal episode took place. So, trailing that and further probing into that matter, we found that there was one entity which shared the Sulli Deals app in their group. So we tracked that entity, the digital entity, and it was uncovered as Omkeshwar Thakur, and he has been arrested from Indore.
It is very apparent that there is a big cover-up. Delhi police, which was absolutely quiet for 6 months when the Sulli Deals happened, suddenly comes into picture and tries to identify the mastermind within few days is, it's something which is very difficult to believe. I have a very strong feeling that they are trying to cover up very big names, people who have been involved in recently, which has been told that there's a tech fog thing where hate mongering and people has been taking place and the people are being targeted.
The major update today on the investigation into the Prime Minister's security breach in Punjab last week. The Supreme Court today has agreed to set up an independent committee next week to probe the Prime Minister's security breach in Punjab's Firozpur, which will be headed by a former judge from the Supreme Court. Here's the full detail of what happened in court. Listen carefully.
Shocking visuals of the Prime Minister getting stranded on a flyover in pole-bound Punjab. Just 10 kilometers from Pakistan border. Putting him in direct range of Pak artillery. What followed was a series of blame game over who blundered and what went wrong. Centre locking horns with Punjab. And now, the Supreme Court has taken matters into its hands, ending competitive probes and nixing show-cause notices. Forming a probe panel under a retired Supreme Court judge, the Chandigarh DGP, Inspector General of NIA, ADGP Security Punjab, along with the Registrar General of High Court, will be the part of the panel. The hearing witnessed high drama as the centre and Punjab locked horns. The Punjab Government Council saw politics behind centre's show-cause notice to state officials, asserting it has no faith in the centre's action.
अच्छा है कि डेमोक्रेटिक सिस्टम में जो हाई कोर्ट सिस्टम है साथ जोड़ा हुआ, ये अच्छा है, नहीं तो डिक्टेटरशिप हो जाती है। मोदी जी डिक्टेटर बनकर दिखाना चाहते थे, लेकिन हाई कोर्ट ने कह दिया नहीं, ऐसा नहीं है, हम भी यहाँ हैं। तो उन्होंने उनकी और हमारी दोनों कमेटियां बंद करके अपना सुप्रीम कोर्ट के रिटायर्ड जज से जो इंक्वायरी करानी है, अच्छी बात है, वी वेलकम।
The centre hit back, accusing the Punjab government of shielding officials directly responsible for breaching the NSG Blue Book on Prime Minister's security, revealing that crowds were allowed to reach 100 meters from the Prime Minister. The Supreme Court mandated high-level probe will finally stop the buck in the Prime Minister's security breach case and fix responsibility for the shocking lapses.
The court has said that there will be a stay on the inquiry that was initiated by the central government into the lapses conducted by the Punjab government. Both governments have pointed fingers at each other, but now with the Supreme Court committee in play, it remains to be seen what comes out after the inquiry. In New Delhi, this is Anisha Mathur for India Today.
A very curious development. Members of Sikhs for Justice, which is a terrorist Khalistani organization, has apparently been calling up advocates in court who are looking into the entire issue of the Prime Minister's security breach. At least 35 advocates claim that they've been receiving anonymous calls from Sikhs for Justice asking them to not help the Prime Minister file cases against Sikh farmers. These calls have allegedly been made from the United Kingdom. According to lawyers, it was an automated call, and the caller said that the Supreme Court should not hear the case when it has not been able to punish the culprits of the 1984 anti-Sikh riots. The matter has been raised with the Secretary General of the Supreme Court. The Solicitor General, who is basically the government's lawyer, has also taken cognizance. This comes after a video of separatist organization Sikhs for Justice founder Gurpatwant Singh Pannu, a well-known terrorist video, went viral calling for violence ahead of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Punjab.
आज सुबह 10:30 बजे करीब और 12:30 बजे करीब 2 कॉल्स मुझे आए हैं यूनाइटेड किंगडम के नंबर से, और वो रिकॉर्डेड वॉइस कॉल्स थे जिसमें ये बोला जा रहा था कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट जजेस रिफ्रेन करें अपने आप को ये पिटीशन सुनने से जो पीएम मोदी की कैवलकेड को ब्लॉक किया गया है, और उस मैसेज में ये भी कहा जा रहा था कि वो जिम्मेदारी लेते हैं पीएम मोदी के कैवलकेड को ब्लॉक करने की। तो मैं रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा माननीय गृह मंत्री जी से कि इस चीज का संज्ञान लें, और मेरी तरह सुप्रीम कोर्ट के कई एडवोकेट ऑन रिकॉर्ड्स को ऐसे कॉल आए हैं।
On a day that the Apex Court heard the Prime Minister's security breach matter, several lawyers of the Supreme Court also received a call from an automated UK number which claims to have been a message from the Sikhs for Justice organization. This banned organization has claimed responsibility for the massive breach in the Prime Minister's security and the blockade that has led to this massive political fallout in India. The message that was given out to the lawyers via this automated call also said that the Supreme Court should not favor the Indian Prime Minister against the farmers, and that the court has not taken any action against the perpetrators of the 1984 Sikh genocide. The Supreme Court Advocates on Record Association has sent a complaint regarding these calls to the Secretary General's office, and it is expected that some action will be taken regarding these calls very soon. In New Delhi with cameraman Nasir, this is Anisha Mathur for India Today.
Co-presented by Berger Paints. Paint your imagination.
Now, India today is fully in election mode ahead of state of war in UP, Punjab, Manipur, Goa and Uttarakhand. And as always, we keep you a step ahead of the news break curve. That's our commitment to keeping the India Today viewer always ahead of anyone else. And that's the reason why, even before the Election Commission had formally banned rallies, India Today had reported as early as last week that virtual rallies and digital rallies were going to be the order of the day, and that every single political party has already created a blueprint for it. Take a look.
From UP to Punjab to Uttarakhand, crowded rallies are the very face of this endless dance of democracy. But with the Election Commission's crackdown on physical rallies, at least till January 15, political parties are gearing up to make their campaign machinery go virtual in the 5 poll-bound states.
The Commission has decided that no roadshow, padyatra, cycle, bike vehicle rally and procession shall be allowed till 15th January 2022.
In meetings with the Election Commission, political parties have voted unanimously for elections to be held on time, even if the worst-case scenario was not being able to be there in person to ask for votes. In fact, elaborate blueprints to conduct virtual rallies are already in place. The Modi Shah election machine is already well-oiled to meet the challenge of maintaining visibility through the virtual mode. It has been put to test each time Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Home Minister Amit Shah, Party President JP Nadda or other seniors have had a political or administrative outing in the last 3 years, including most recently in Bengal. Starting from the very top down to its huge 14 lakh strong volunteer army on the ground, the BJP's virtual campaign involves laptops, handheld devices and officials down to the booth level, ensuring political messages reach far and wide. Each rally or event to be attended or addressed by the BJP leadership can go live from any remote location. All of the top BJP leaders already have dedicated technological hardware available at their home bases to go live. If Prime Minister Modi cannot address a rally in person, his virtual avatar can kick in at very short notice. With everything already in place, once his stream goes live on giant rally screens, it is rapidly signal boosted across the BJP's vast social media channels and resources, providing enormous reach digitally. A reach test conducted recently when the Prime Minister was in Varanasi to inaugurate the new Kashi Vishwanath corridor proved to be a stellar success, reaching crores through 4 key social media platforms. The Congress isn't as big as the BJP on social media, but has its own digital blueprint, allowing for virtual rallies by Rahul Gandhi and the leadership should the need arise. Earlier this week, the party carried out a mock drill to test its systems and found it to be successful. Most recently in Uttarakhand, the Congress's Teen Tigada Kaam Bigada achieved huge success.
ये सब चीजें यूनिफॉर्मली सभी पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज पर लागू होंगी। यहाँ बंगाल नहीं दोहराया जाएगा, क्योंकि बंगाल के अंदर जो रूलिंग पार्टी था दिल्ली में और जो शक्तिशाली लोग थे, उन्होंने सारे कोड ऑफ कंडक्ट को भी वायलेट किया और कोरोना प्रोटोकॉल को भी वायलेट किया।
And finally, challenger number 1 in UP, Akhilesh Yadav, has his own virtual plan too. A tech-savvy leader himself, his party has a large number of region, district and block-level WhatsApp groups used to telecast messages, video links and other campaign material. Recently, when Akhilesh Yadav undertook his Vikas Rath Yatra, thousands of social media handles operated by party volunteers went live, beaming his speeches and interactions with the public.
इलेक्शन कमीशन ने जो शर्तें रखी उनका शर्तों का पालन होगा। ये इलेक्शन कमीशन को सख्ती सरकार के लिए रखनी चाहिए, क्योंकि सरकार यहाँ पर मनमानी करेगी। पिछले चुनाव में भी मैंने देखा कि किसी भी नियम को इस सरकार ने नहीं माना।
Omicron has surely ensured that crowded rallies have been elbowed out for a new campaigning paradigm. With Rahul Srivastav in Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today.
And I want to tell you that we've got some breaking news coming in now to prepare you for what's coming up at 6 p.m. We've got a huge political Pradesh prime time lined up for you. Right after the election dates have been announced by the Election Commission, India Today is the only channel to have the Bahubalis, the bosses of the 4 big election parties in Uttar Pradesh, live and exclusive right here on India Today. We're in 100% election mode, whether it's Yogi Adityanath, Akhilesh Yadav, Priyanka Gandhi Vadra or Mayawati's number 1 man. All of them are live and exclusive in an unmissable political Pradesh dhamaka non-stop from 6 to 9 p.m. right here on India Today. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be beginning at 6 p.m. non-stop till 9 p.m. All four leaders in exclusive election conversations with India Today. Actor and comic Bob Saget is no more. 65 years old, he was found dead in his hotel room in Florida. There's a sense of disbelief. 65 years is no age to go. Bob Saget had thrilled and made millions across the world in the 80s and 90s laugh as the star of the sitcom Full House and so many other things he was a part of. Rest in peace and travel well, Bob Saget.
Bob Saget, an actor and comedian best known as the jovial dad on the television sitcom Full House, was found dead in a hotel room in Orlando, Florida.
Let me check your forehead.
According to reports, the cause of Saget's death is unclear, and even detectives found no signs of foul play or drug use. The 65-year-old actor and comedian had just started a tour and performed in Florida. In fact, his last social media post reflected on the really nice audience and lots of positivity. Saget played widowed father Danny Tanner on Full House from 1987 to 1995 and also on a sequel called Fuller House from 2016 to 2020. In the show, Tanner shared his home with his 3 daughters, his brother-in-law and best friend.
Okay, quiz time.
In contrast to his wholesome TV image, Saget's stand-up act delivered raunchier, adult-oriented comedy.
I want you to know that I swear to God, on my mother, I will kill for you. You will? Yes. What if I kill?
He also played a parody of himself in a recurring role on the HBO series Entourage. Entertainment Bureau, India Today.
Killed the guy, some cracked in the hood. Would you come down there in your silver 750 and pick me up and help me chop up the body and dispose of it? And then take me home and bathe me and then tuck me in? Would you do all that for me, Scott? Because I would do that. For me, keep 10% of the money that I make. Well, we're done now, Scott. I'm going to tuck you in.